About $4,500. That's what LASIK costs in America, both eyes, and you pay every cent of it yourself because no insurance plan covers it. The very same surgery abroad? Often half to two-thirds less. But here's where most videos lie to you. They quote a precise foreign price they can't actually back up. We're going to do this honestly, the real numbers, where they come from, and the catch nobody puts in the brochure. Quick honest note before we start. This is a cost comparison, not medical advice. We don't take a cent from any clinic, we don't book procedures, and we'll never tell you what to do with your own eyes. We just put the numbers side by side, and we tell you how confident we are in each one so you can decide for yourself. And here's why this hits so many people. LASIK is elective, which in American healthcare is code for one thing: you're on your own. It's almost never covered by insurance. It comes straight out of your pocket or out of a health savings account if you're lucky enough to have one. At the same time, the country is getting more nearsighted. The National Eye Institute reports that myopia among American adults has climbed from about a quarter of the population in the early 70s to over 40%, a roughly 66% rise. More people who could benefit from vision correction and a price tag that, for many, simply closes the door. When a procedure isn't covered and costs as much as a used car, the wall between you and clearer vision isn't medical, it's financial. So let's talk about that wall and the prices on both sides of it. Start with the number we're most sure of. The American Refractive Surgery Council, the industry's own body, puts the average price of LASIK in the United States at about $2,250 per eye. 2 eyes, and you're at roughly $4,500 for the pair. That's the figure we'll anchor everything to because it's the best source number in this whole comparison. But notice the spread underneath that average. Real-world U.S. pricing runs anywhere from about $1,500 an eye for basic treatment to $3,000 or more for the newest technology, bladeless, all-laser, custom wavefront-guided procedures. So depending on the clinic, the city, and the machine, an American paying out of pocket can spend anywhere from $3,000 to over $6,000 for both eyes. Same surgery, wildly different bill. And that bill is almost entirely out of pocket. There's no insurer negotiating it down, no employer plan absorbing it. The advertised from $999 per eye you see on billboards is usually a teaser for the simplest case. The real all-in number, with the consultation, the technology most people actually get, and the follow-up visits, lands much closer to that $4,500 mark. That's the honest US baseline. Now cross to Turkey, and this is where we have to be more careful than the brochures are because the honest answer is genuinely more interesting than the fake one. Here's the uncomfortable truth. There is no single official price that a foreign visitor pays for LASIK in Turkey. We looked through the OECD, through Turkish government tariffs, through the peer-reviewed literature, and no independent non-commercial source publishes a foreign patient package price. Every precise number you see online, $800, $1,200, $1,500, traces back to a clinic or a booking agency selling you something. So we're not going to repeat those as if they were facts. What we can verify is striking on its own. Turkey's own Ministry of Health sets a regulated domestic price for LASIK, and as of early 2026, it's about $350 for both eyes. That's not the tourist price, that's the floor, the cost of the procedure itself, stripped of everything around it. The all-inclusive package a foreign visitor pays sits on top of that. It bundles the consultation, the scans, the surgery, often a hotel and airport transfers, and credible estimates put that package somewhere between $1,000 and $2,500. We give you that as a range, not a promise. And the direction is not in doubt because this part is well-sourced. The OECD, the Club of Wealthy Nations, finds that Turkey has the lowest medical prices of any member country, running roughly 50 to 70% below the United States. So whether the real package is $1,000 or $2,500, you're looking at something like half to two-thirds off the American price. That's the honest version, anchored to the OECD, not to a billboard. The savings are real. The exact number is an estimate, and we'd rather tell you that than pretend. So the obvious question, if it's a fraction of the price, is it a fraction of the surgery? And the honest, evidence-based answer is no. And refractive surgery is actually the clearest case of this anywhere in medicine. Here's why. LASIK isn't really a feat of a surgeon's hands, it's a feat of a machine. The procedure is performed by an excimer laser, guided by a computerized map of your eye, often with a femtosecond laser creating the corneal flap. And those machines, the major platforms, are built by a small number of American, German, and Japanese manufacturers and sold to clinics all over the world. The same laser sitting in a Beverly Hills clinic is sitting in an Istanbul one. They're cleared by the FDA and the European authorities to the same standards. The software is the same, the surgical sequence is the same. What changes across the border isn't the technology, it's everything wrapped around it. Health economists have a three-word explanation for why American healthcare costs so much. It's the prices. The Peterson KFF Health System Tracker estimates the U.S. spends roughly 5 times as much per person on administration as peer nations. About a quarter of all U.S. health spending goes to billing and paperwork. Add American facility costs, marketing budgets, malpractice premiums, and the simple fact that LASIK is a cash-pay luxury market where clinics advertise heavily. None of that makes the laser pulse more precisely. It makes the invoice bigger. The gap is a story about American prices, not Turkish quality. And the outcomes back that up. This is one of the most studied elective procedures in the world. A landmark review of nearly 68,000 eyes found patient satisfaction with LASIK above 96%, among the highest of any elective procedure measured. More than 90% of patients reached 20/20 vision or better. And the FDA's own long-term study reported satisfaction holding above 95% more than 2 decades out. Those numbers come from the procedure itself and the procedure travels. And this matters. High average outcomes don't mean every clinic is equal, and they especially don't mean every clinic abroad is equal. Turkey runs an enormous medical tourism industry, serving well over 1 million international patients a year across all procedures. And like any big market, it has a top tier and a bottom tier. The same laser in skilled hands and in careless hands does not give the same result. International accreditation, the kind certified by the Joint Commission International, exists for exactly this reason, and not every clinic carries it. So comparable quality is true at the top of the market, and it's precisely why which clinic you choose matters more when you cross a border, not less. The technology gap is essentially zero. The diligence gap is on you. So here's the catch I promised, because if we only told you the price, we'd be doing exactly what the brochures do. LASIK is fast and the recovery is usually quick, but it isn't zero maintenance. A small share of patients, generally a few percent, need an enhancement, a touch-up procedure, months later. Many people get dry eyes for weeks or longer. And in rare cases, there are complications that need a surgeon's attention. When that surgeon is 2,000 miles away, that follow-up loop can break. A touch-up that would have been included at home becomes a second international flight. And there's a step that comes before the surgery that's even more important. Not everyone is a candidate. Your corneas have to be thick enough, your prescription stable, your eyes healthy. That's determined by a detailed in-person exam. Corneal mapping, measurements, a video call simply cannot do. The real risk in medical travel for LASIK isn't usually the laser. It's flying across the world for a procedure you were never a good candidate for, or one where the aftercare was never arranged. So the single most important thing the evidence says is this: get a proper candidacy workup and line up your follow-up care at home before you book a flight, not after. So who actually does this? Often it's someone for whom $4,500 isn't a number to haggle over. It's a wall. Someone whose plan covers nothing because the system filed their eyesight under luxury. For them, a procedure that costs half to 2/3 less abroad isn't an adventure. It's the difference between getting it done and never getting it done at all. And the savings aren't abstract. A couple of $1,000s that stays in the household is a real thing in a real budget. But the smartest people who do this aren't chasing the rock bottom price. They're doing the boring sovereign thing, getting a real candidacy exam, choosing an accredited facility, confirming the technology, and arranging follow-up at home first. That's the line between a story that ends in clear vision and savings, and one that ends in a second emergency flight. Here's the bottom line. LASIK in America runs about $4,500 for both eyes, all of it out of your pocket. In Turkey, the procedure itself is regulated at a fraction of that, and the all-inclusive package, while we can't pin it to the dollar, lands somewhere that the OECD's own data says is half to 2/3 cheaper. The technology is the same machines. The outcomes at the top tier genuinely compare. The savings are real, and so is the homework you have to do. Knowing both of those is what lets you choose for yourself with your eyes open instead of being sold a number. Because at the end of the day, this was never really about a laser. It's about a system where clear vision is priced like a luxury. You shouldn't have to go broke to feel whole.